Yo, what's up, guys? Old School Dan here. I got Golden Era Bookworm here, the legendary Golden Era Bookworm, with an interview. He's been kind enough to give us some of our time, so I'm gonna let him take it away. Um, Tell us who you are, what you do, and all that good stuff, man.
Right. So thanks for having me, Dan. And yeah, so I'm a scientist. I work in Switzerland and father of two kids, married. Yeah, and born in South America in Peru. Lived in Australia for about 30 years as a child. And yeah, since I was watching Incredible Hulk as a kid in the very early 80s, that kind of got me into bodybuilding. I remember telling my dad every time I watched Incredible Hulk with Lou Ferrigno back then, the real Lou, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just run into the room and just go, Dad, I want to watch Hulk, and I'd be like, acting all like Hulk. Yeah, and yeah, I mean that kind of, my dad always told me that even as a kid, I was always saying I wanted to be strong, right? And then what really got me going, and what really made me, I got caught by the iron bug as soon as I saw my first Arnold film, and I just saw Arnold with his arms, and I was like, oh man, that's it. That's what a man should look like, and I wanted to be, I just wanted to start doing weights, and that's been my hobby ever since, bodybuilding.
Okay, cool. So I'm curious about how you got into YouTube. Like, what made you start the channel, and stuff like that. Tell us about a bit about that.
Yeah, so that's kind of a different story. I remember my first magazine. It has to do with magazines, of course, because that's what my channel's all about, right?
Yeah.
My collection and me sharing knowledge. So I have to go back to my very first magazine. And it was an Arnold special that I saw at my friend's place. I must have been about 14 years old, 15 at the most. And it was very early 90s. And I was at his place, and we were looking through some old muscle mags that he had. I was like, wow, I didn't know you had muscle mags with Arnold. And he saw my interest in that one magazine, and he said, man, if you want, just take it home and read it. And so I photocopied the whole damn thing.
Yeah.
And that was literally my first magazine. And I tried to do everything that Arnold said in that book. And that kind of started me on my bodybuilding journey, really. And then I tore my trapezius by following Tom Platz's Big Beyond Belief. I was so obsessed with learning about all the Golden Era legends that I followed anything they would say.
Yeah.
And at the time, Larry Scott was doing his course. I forgot what it was called now. Biophase. It's it. Biophase. And it was between him and Tom Platz, and I chose Tom Platz's, right? Because it sounded better. Big Beyond Belief, right? This book was programmed for the next 3 or 6 months or whatever. Copied that, tore my traps, couldn't move my arm past this point, past shoulder, and I had to get like an osteopath to fix my spine and my shoulder blade. Actually, it was so bad; it was all torn up. And I came across once in a newsstand while I was recovering, because back then, remember, magazines were in print, and I would have my subscriptions, and I'd wait every month, and to come through the mail, I'd be all excited, Muscle and Fitness, Flex, and whatever. And then one day I'm at the newsstand, and I see a special edition of Flex with Bob Paris on the cover, and it says it had like a hard gainer special on the front cover. And it was written by Stuart McRobert. The whole magazine was written by Stuart McRobert, and it was talking about abbreviated training routines based on the silver and golden era of bodybuilding, and how information from back then was more relevant to the natural bodybuilder, because basically by the time it was the 80s and 90s, all bodybuilders were using steroids. And so I was really interested, and I gave the information from that particular magazine a go. And then I realized I started growing. The McRobert method, Stuart McRobert's method, was based on a 20 rep squat. That was my very first effective program I used. And at that point, I realized, man, this guy actually is telling the truth. He's onto something. So he recommended reading material from the 40s, the 50s, and so on. And so I started collecting. That's how I started collecting. And it got to a point where, until a few years ago, I kept telling everybody about my collection at work and stuff. One friend of mine said to me, "So what? What are you going to do with your collection?" Almost teasing me, and that kind of pissed me off. And eventually, his message sunk in, and I actually thought to myself, "What am I going to do with these thousands and thousands of books and magazines that I've amassed over the years?" And the idea came up to create a YouTube channel on this knowledge, on sharing all this information from these magazines, and that's how the thing took off.
And thus, the legendary Golden Era Bookman was born, huh?
Yeah, I don't know about legendary, but definitely.
Definitely, dude. You're gonna go down in history, man. Like your information you put on the internet is incredibly rare. There's like nobody else in the freaking world that is doing that. They might be like, no, not even on Facebook, dude. I'm pretty sure there's like no one else other than you putting out information like that. So that's freaking awesome. How long did it take you to recover from that trap thing?
Oh, that took about a year, and since then, when I did the 20 rep squat, I went from 65 kilos up to 95.
Mm-hmm.
I blew up, and everybody around me screamed steroids, and I just laughed because I was strong as an ox, and I had reached 210 pounds, and I was satisfied. And then I started martial arts, and I let bodybuilding and weightlifting go. I just didn't do it for years after that. I did it just a little bit, but not as hardcore as I used to. And then I started taking it up when I re-injured myself during work in a freak accident. My left adductor was torn,
Oh,
and then the doctor told me I was operated by the top surgeon in the world, and I mean he even took care of athletes and stuff. And he told me I would never walk again properly.
Jesus.
And I was like, screw you, I'll show you. And I started weights again because I knew that weights would get me back, and it did. And I then started training again until I tore my pectoral, biceps, and rotator cuff 3 years ago. And since then it kind of hasn't been the same.
How many people in your chat? Wait, I'm sorry. What were you gonna say?
I just said I've had a lot of injuries over the years. So.
How many people on your channel know that you've had all these injuries? Have you talked about it a lot, or they're sparingly?
I've talked to you a couple of times about them now.
You have.
But no, I don't mention it because I don't necessarily think it's that important. I don't act like a coach online. I don't pretend to be one.
Mm-hmm.
My channel is all about sharing knowledge from these books and magazines.
Mm-hmm.
I've never pretended to be an expert at this. I simply found that when I started talking about all this information, people started listening. And so if I'm not really out there claiming to do this or to do that, then I don't necessarily have to show my physique as many others would as coaches.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, if I was, then people would see my limitations immediately. They would ask, well, why aren't you more buff, or why aren't you more muscular? Well, if you saw me 20 years ago, it would be a different story. But I don't necessarily want to show myself either as I am, because I have so many injuries that prevent me from doing what I could do in the past. And that's why I don't talk about this stuff. But I guess I kind of should. I mean, because one thing that bodybuilding and weightlifting have taught me is that it does strengthen your resilience and your mind. And
Mm-hmm.
people will tell you you'll never walk again. Yet last year I squatted 400 pounds. So I was supposed to be wheelchair bound and not being able to have a normal life from the age of 30. And I proved the surgeon wrong. And I was told just 3 months ago, after my last shoulder operation, because I've had 2 or 3 now on my shoulder since the pectoral tear, that I should never ever do bodybuilding or weightlifting again. Yet, I'm back in the gym, lifting and taking it easy. But I know that with time, my body will find a way of healing itself, because that's what bodybuilding does. That's what weightlifting does. If you do physical culture the right way,
It's a culture. Yeah.
it's all about health and restoring vigor in your body, and it will. It really, to me, is the pill, the magic pill that people look for youth. It's like the foundation, the fountain of youth science. It really is
Fountain.
the fountain of youth.
Yeah.
That's what I love about it. But yeah, that's why I haven't really talked about it. I'm not a coach, and therefore I don't necessarily see the point in talking about it. But if when individuals have asked me about injuries and how to overcome them, that's actually when I tell them. But I don't see the point in talking about it.
Man, you definitely inspired a lot of people, man. I mean, you're inspiring people through your content. Not only when they see this video, they're gonna be like, "Oh shit, now I know more about Carlos, and I respect him, 10 times freaking more, just because he's been through so much." A lot of people just, I feel like a lot of people just judge you when they see you. They're like, "Oh, the fuck is this guy?" Like he's eating all these eggs, he's lifting these weights, like, and he talks about this and that. And I'm like, dude, you don't even know the guy. If you actually knew the guy, he's, incredibly likable, intelligent, knowledgeable. He's a freaking scientist. He knows a lot about old school bodybuilding. You got to give him some credit, like, dude, like, people on the internet just trash. But like, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, dude, speaking facts here, Carlos.
It's just it's people are very easy to judge when they don't know you, and yeah, this is kind of why I also don't like necessarily showing myself on YouTube as often as I would. It's not because I take in what they say. It's because I'm 41 and I can't give a shit what they say.
Yeah.
That's the truth. I mean, you get to a point, and I'm getting towards my more senior years now, my more mature years, where you hear so much crap that you just don't care after a while. I mean, I don't have time for it. So I would rather just do what I enjoy, which is share the content from these mags. And that gives me joy. That's my hobby.
I'm talking about. Screw the haters, man. Um, so a lot of this information that you put out on the internet, on YouTube, do you have any more like resources you can share, like anything for like sale, or like any type of place where people can like get into like the deeper research that you offer, any type of website or something like that?
You mean on old school bodybuilding?
Yeah.
Um, Look, I always say if you want to get the old magazines and books, the mags that I usually purchase, I've got one here right now, is, for example, Your Physique.
Oh, I like that one.
It's Ed Theriot on the cover right there. You can find them on eBay, but they're very expensive.
Mm.
To be honest, that's the whole reason, again, why I started this channel. I mean, first of all, I've seen these magazines easily sell for 150 US dollars each. Right?
Yeah.
You can't find them for 50, even down to 20, right? From people that don't know their real value. But I felt so bad in that respect for so many people that don't have access to this information, that I felt compelled to share it. Every time I walk into the gym, or at least when I did, I see young blokes, stringy young blokes, and they just look at you and they're almost begging you silently for instruction, right? Whilst they're being demonstrated all these chrome shiny equipment, and I'm just inside, just feel like, going up to the instructor and grabbing a 45 plate and slapping it across his head,
Yeah.
because they're not teaching them functional movements that are really going to help them. And it's not just about building muscle. It's about really for them to learn how to use their bodies. And they're not learning that. They're learning to sit on a machine and move it. I mean, don't they do enough sitting at home watching TV,
True.
sitting in their car? I mean, for God's sake, we are supposed to move by walking on our 2 feet. So we should exercise on our 2 feet, grabbing some freaking barbell or dumbbell and using our bodies without the assistance of a machine. I mean, and I feel so bad for these guys because then you don't see them after 2 3 weeks. They're gone. And this is the sad truth about modern training. You go into any club, it's almost a club basically. You pay your membership, and some places don't even have instructors.
Hmm.
They've got these 24-hour gyms where you just walk in, all the machines are there, and you don't even need an instructor. And these places operate like that, and I just feel it's just terrible. There should be real instruction out there to help people to truly learn how to use their bodies, and these places don't really offer that. So that lack of information is another motivating factor for me on this YouTube channel. The word needs to spread. I wish for every bloody Chrome gym or Planet Fitness, there'd be a old barbell club,
Hmm. I
Man,
agree.
that's what we need, man.
Yeah.
That's what we need. These old barbell clubs where, I mean, I used to train here in Switzerland before my injury at a barbell club. I found one that was 130 years old. Man, this place had old globe barbells like the ones you see Eugene Sandow lifting, right?
Yeah.
Photos. It had one there, and when I walked in, man, as I approached the place, a block or two away, I could hear the thunder of the weight, man, just dropping.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, what is that noise? And
Badass.
as I approached the place, boom, I knew I was getting closer to that gym. And oh, man, that just really fired me up. I was like, man, this is a real gym. I walked in, it was like in a basement, and there was just free weights everywhere, not a freaking machine. And there's all these big husky guys just lifting. It was an Olympic weightlifting gym, and there's all these guys that train there just blasting weights all day, all night and day. And it's just great. That's the kind of gyms we need, not these little prissy gyms where you can't make noise and they send you out. It's just ridiculous.
Totally 100% agree. Agree with that. Yeah. Just curious, like, do you have any big plans for your channel? Channel is very interesting. It's incredibly unique. Do you have any big plans you can share with us, or any type of spoilers to get us excited? Pumped up for those
Yeah.
videos of yours.
So I will state that within the next week or two, I have a project with a very prominent filmmaker in bodybuilding, and I will be announcing this project that I've been involved in for the last 3 years. So he contacted me very early on when my channel had only about 1,000 subscribers, and he was very excited because he needed information on old advertising from Muscle Man, and I helped him out. And since then, we established a really good collaboration, and that project has now completed, and his film is going to come out very soon, and I'm going to be announcing it on my channel. Plus, I have been interviewing old school bodybuilders. So Don Howarth, I've kind of become friends with him now, and been interviewing him now, 3 or 4 times over the last couple of months. Danny Padilla, I've interviewed him, and I am actually chasing down Marvin Etta. I really would love to find an original and still living silver era legend. And I am praying to try and get in touch with him, because if I can, I wish to give him a whole full interview and just get as much knowledge from such a man that used to train with Reg Park, Steve Reeves, Clarence Ross, George Eiffelman. I mean, these guys that have unfortunately passed away. He's the only one that's still around, And it kind of just makes me think, all these people that claim these guys took testosterone and steroids back then. I mean, these guys are 80, 90 years old, If they would have taken something, I think they would have probably passed away by now. So
True.
these guys are strong because they are strong, and they still are strong, So it'd be great to learn from such greats from the silver era. So I am hunting down Marvin Etta, and hopefully I'll get to interview him as well. That's some of the stuff that's coming up on my channel.
Dude, that sounds really badass. I'm really pumped to see that. I'm really pumped to get to be able to see that. It'd be pretty awesome to see. The Martin thing, that was bad. That sounds really bad. So hopefully you can track him down, get the interview, and just share it with everybody. That would be really sick. Um, like how do you get past all the noise and hating YouTube? Like how do you deal with all that stuff? Because I know you got like a lot of like hate from like YouTube. What's his name? One of that YouTuber. What was his name? Vegan Gains. He made like a video about you and your on your eggs and stuff. Like how did you respond to that? Like how did you deal with all that stuff?
Yeah, look, initially when that happened, it was last year when I did the 36 eggs a day video that went viral. I wasn't expecting it, and but then when that happened, I was, yeah, initially kind of like, well, a lot of people were telling me you should you should start like a video war with him, and I was like, well, you know what, I'm not going to sink to that level because this guy built this channel on hate, and it's really sad. I find that a lot of people, um, you know, I guess, go for that kind of content. This guy is known for slander. From what I saw when I had a look at his profile, I mean, wasn't his channel terminated last year
It
because of
was.
that reason,
It
right?
was.
I mean, that just says it all, right? He's gonna fall under his own law, really. I mean, he has his own way of doing things that are not, I guess, inducive to personally collaboration with other people. I think he's just a loudmouth personally, and
Yes.
he's even admitted to being, to having some psychological issues which he needed to have resolved. From what I remember, when he was trying to get, yeah, I mean, I remember that when I heard online on YouTube that his channel got terminated, he started making some video pleas online and stated that he had some issues to work with it because he had like some anger issues or something like that. I
Mhm.
don't know. I don't really look too much into that guy, but all I can say is that when people give him hate, um, you know, you can choose to invest in that, or you can just choose to let it go. I mean, I think when you're doing something right, you're always going to get hatred. You're going to
True.
always have polarized opinions. And all I can say is that I'm only sharing information. And if my opinion is that I agree with some of this information, it's just my opinion. You know, I don't see why people should invest so much time in hating on someone. To me, that means that they obviously are watching my content, and in a way, you have power over them. So why give that power back to them? I'm not going to invest any time in that childish behavior. I think they're trying to feed to kind of entice you to start that kind of dialogue with them. But what's the point? I only think it's going to lead to more hatred, and I don't think that's the point. At least that's not the point of my channel. If that's the direction that certain people like Vegan Gains want to go towards, then that's fine. I don't care. They can do that to other people. I just ignore it. I'd rather not be negative. I'd rather try and be as positive as I can be. At least in my mind, I'm trying to do a positive thing. And if they wish to carry on and be foolish like that, well, good luck to them because his channel's been terminated once before and continues on his own path of self-destruction. He's going to do it again. Good luck to him is all I can say. So that's how I deal with hatred. And it's not just him. Many other people have done the same to me, and I just try and ignore it. I mean, I don't have time, as I said earlier, to deal with that. I'm a father. I've got work. I've got my hobby. I've got my training. I don't have to give these people that are negative any of my attention. It's like watching a child sit on the floor and whine, and you've got to pay attention to that. I've got my own children that whine. I pay attention to them, but I don't need to deal with this childlike behavior from some of these people. So I'm sorry. You want your rattle? Go cry somewhere else.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about, man. Sometimes they just want to get a rise out of you. They just like to piss people off, and hopefully they can get some type of of that energy back. So I
Well,
don't
all I
think.
can say is that if I'm getting approached by film producers and even other projects that are pretty exciting. I'm actually involved in a project with Arnold Schwarzenegger, believe it or not.
No way.
If yeah,
That's
that's
badass, dude. Congratulations.
that's a big spoiler alert. That's probably my biggest spoiler alert.
Mm.
But if I'm getting that kind of attention on my YouTube channel, I'm doing something right. I don't have to worry about the hate. The hate will always come, but I don't care. So whatever.
Facts. Dude, see? Obviously you're doing something right. Obviously. So what do you think of modern bodybuilding nowadays? What is your opinion of it? Do you approve, disapprove? What are your honest opinion about all that stuff? Bodybuilders of today.
Um, I won't lie. I have a kind of it's kind of two-way. Like I go to the gym. I see bodybuilders there all the time. Amateurs trying to make it up to the top. I speak to them. They speak to me. You know, you respect everyone as a person, and when you talk to them, they're human, right? They're just like you and me.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they've decided to take steroids because they have their goal,
Yeah.
and they I mean, I feel bad for them because they are, in my opinion, they are destroying their health, which I don't think that is what physical culture is about. Physical culture to me is about cultivating your own physique, your mind and your body and your soul. The whole thing goes together. That to me is true physical culture, the way it was in the bronze and silver era. I know it changed towards the golden era, but that to me is what true physical culture is. And this is why it's a hard question to answer. I mean, again, I won't lie. I watch Nick Strength and Power all the time.
Mm.
I like hearing about the information about today's bodybuilding, but I don't necessarily support it. I don't go to shows. Um, I have met some of the bodybuilders of today, such as Cedric McMillan, Callum Monmoga,
Mm.
and Sean Roden, current
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Olympia. I've met them all. When you speak to them, they're really nice guys, you know. And as I said, they're all chasing their own dreams.
Yeah.
But I guess the issue with modern bodybuilding is that, um, yeah, the problem is that now that everybody knows, and it is so openly talked about, the usage of performance enhancing drugs, that unfortunately most kids just rely on performance enhancing drugs. That now it's literally, bodybuilding is literally married to drug abuse. And that's what I have a problem with. And I can understand that in the golden era, and even probably in the late silver era, uh, a lot of these bodybuilders uh, stated, even Bill Pearl's a classic example, that sometimes they claim that they didn't use steroids, or that they used steroids only for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I understand why they are trying to, let's face it, deceive people, right? Because they understand that the damage that they can make by simply claiming that they use steroids, because suddenly that becomes the answer for most people. Oh, if I want a body like Arnold Schwarzenegger, I need to take steroids. Well, this is why I have more respect for the golden era bodybuilders, because although they took steroids, most of them did not um, condone the use of steroids. They didn't support that. They would be against it, and they would
Yeah.
say you should only use it. And if you read all their books, they all say only use it if you are going to definitely become a competitive bodybuilder. If you're doing it for health, they all have the same message: don't use steroids. But nowadays, a bodybuilder will say, you know, if you want to start bodybuilding, you've got to use steroids, and that's the message that I don't agree with modern bodybuilding. Yeah, as I said, I go to the gym and walk into the men's room, and they're all injecting themselves and laughing about it.
Damn.
You guys are all amateurs. Some are competing, and they just do it to get big. I mean, one of my friends was an amateur bodybuilder, and I asked him once, do you use? And he says, yeah, man, I inject myself with everything. That was his answer, with everything.
Jesus.
And he repeated it proudly. And I was like, and I'm like, are you going to be going for the Olympia or something? And he's like, no, but I just want to do it. And that's what I don't agree with. Modern bodybuilding is now just drug assisted muscular. It's an activity of drug assisted muscular hypertrophy. It's not about cultivating the mind, the body, and the soul as it was before. It's not about health. It's not about vigor. It's not about longevity. Again, I come back to the point where I mentioned earlier about Marvin Etta, who's in his late 80s or early 90s, I forget. And these guys lasted that long because they did it natural, and they're still strong. People talk about, this guy's 70 or 80 years old and he can still squat 500 pounds. Yeah, because they cultivated their physique for this whole period of time, for 50, 60 years. That's why they're strong,
Yeah.
That's what it should be like, right? And I see modern bodybuilders, they look like monsters. They look monstrous and huge and ripped and all that. And then 5 to 10 years later, it's over. And you hear about how some of them are wheelchair bound, or they get cancer or a heart attack. And what kind of an example is that? These guys are supposed to, this is what I find so ironic. The Mr. Olympia nowadays receives a sandow, a statue of a physical culturist from the Bronze Era who was natural.
That is weird, yeah.
So ironic, right?
It is weird, yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
When you look at it that way, they are receiving the symbol, the true symbol of physical culture, the true symbol of vigor, of health. Yet, these people that are receiving it are injecting themselves with drugs day in and day out. And it's ironic because they are not the true symbol of health. That's what I find so ironic about it. In 10 years' time, they will look like the average person on the street, if they're lucky, with some health. And that's not what I believe the Olympia should be about. It should really be about physical culture. If you're going to hand out, it's like, I got this recently from Greece, right?
Oh, snap. Cool.
It's Hercules. It's a
Yeah.
Hercules, right? A symbol of strength, right?
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't something like this go, for example, to a person that is naturally strong throughout their whole life, and not for a brief period where they assisted their physique and their strength using performance enhancing drugs? That's my point. I don't think that the people that receive these awards truly deserve them in that respect. I respect the hours of work, the dedication, the sacrifice that they put in. I won't deny it. I see it every day in the gym. But the idea of rewarding the method that these guys go through, and that when they use performance enhancing drugs, to me is incorrect. But then again, we live in an era where this is freely available now. How do you stop it? So it's a difficult thing to talk about. I'm going to get a lot of hate for talking about all this. It's going to be very polarizing. Some people are going to go, man, you're right on the ball, and others are like, just shut up and die, whatever. But I'm just getting a simple point across. If you're going to award someone with the statue of Eugene Sandow, shouldn't that person emulate Eugene Sandow? You see my point?
I agree.
Shouldn't they truly be a symbol of health, of vigor? That's my point. And I don't think these guys are truly symbolic of that. They look phenomenal, no doubt about it. But inside, they're rotting away. Right? That's my point.
Have you heard of Armis Dolgan?
Yes, I have.
What do you think about his physical culture contest? They're like the golden aesthetic contest that he has. What is your opinion of that?
I think it's definitely a step in the right direction.
A step.
I've been following Artemis since he started off. I remember he was just you're general gym guy back 3, 4, 5 years ago, whatever it was, when he was just starting to build up himself. And I believe in his direction. I think it's a very good one to go more towards a classic-like physique. But yeah, I mean, of course, he's admitted that he's still on TRT and probably other things. I'm not sure. I don't know him personally. I didn't chat to him personally.
Mm-hmm.
But to answer your question in short, I think those kinds of physiques that that are associated with his label are much more healthy, and I think they're a much better model for what physical culture should be. But I mean, again, it's very difficult to control nowadays drug usage in the sport. So, you know, yeah, it's unfortunate that's the way it's become. You know?
Do you feel like a step in a better direction would be like if they were going for the exact same look, but just drug-free, natural?
Absolutely, that would be the ultimate goal. But
That'd be the ultimate goal.
the problem, I mean, you look at a lineup in an actual show, it's tested. You see the lineup and you go, yeah, he's natural, he's natural. Oh, he's not natural, right?
Yeah.
So that's the issue. Even in natural shows nowadays, there's probably a few guys there that are using, and how do you control for that nowadays? You know? Do you really think some sponsors for these shows are going to be able to supply true drug testing, properly done, scientific, you know, properly done in a laboratory by scientists, proper scientific drug testing?
Mm-hmm.
No one's going to go for that. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a loophole, and yeah, there's not much that could be really done about it. That's kind of what I say. That's kind of why I say one should do physical culture for themselves. Because if you are lying to yourself, or you're lying to yourself, you know, and if you're going to do it for your health, when you really know what you're doing, you know, you can lie to everyone, but at the end of the day, you can't lie to yourself. You can say, yeah, I'm not using any drugs, but at the end of the day, if you are, eventually it's probably going to catch up to you. I'm all about doing physical culture for yourself, trying to improve yourself and be the best version of yourself that you can be. I think that's the number one thing with physical culture. Having health first, strength second, and finally a good physique. You know, that really should be the priority if you want to list it. I don't know who, I forget who actually stated that. I don't know if it was Eugene Sandow or someone else, but if you were to prioritize what physical culture should be about, number one is always health. Second is strength, and finally your physique.
Mm-hmm.
So the way it really should be. But yeah. My opinion only.
Huh?
My opinion only.
I'm pretty sure a lot of people are gonna agree with that opinion, anyways. But think about our last question here. If people want to support you on a more of a, maybe, how do I say this, in a let's just say people want to support you more on your channel, where can they go to, you know, give you that extra support? You have any like websites, Patreon accounts, anything like that you get people can support you at?
So I've got my Patreon account. It's www.patreon.com/Golden Era Bookworm. And what's, I guess, unique about that account is that I upload rare photos, and more importantly, the articles of which I base my videos on. And a lot of people want to know, they ask me, that's kind of what inspired the Patreon account. People kept asking me, oh, could you please send me this article? Could you please send me the article on that video or whatever? And I just thought, well, you know, I don't have time to be sending, you know, tens or hundreds of emails a day. So if anyone wants to download the article, they can just join my Patreon account and they'll find the articles there. And in that respect, I can get a little bit of extra time. And another website is obviously my website where I upload rare courses and books, and that's www.goldenerbookworm.com. And occasionally I also get donations via PayPal, and that's on my account there, goldenerabookworm@gmail.com. So they're the kinds of ways people can support me. Yeah. Thanks for that.
So I'll drop those links in the description, guys, if you want to support them. Last thing, Carlos, do you have any last words for us? If you want to like share anything, any last words before we end the interview?
Yeah, I just want to say that everything I've said today is my own opinion. Just remember, when you're watching my channel, you're listening to the recommendations of the authors from the past, of people that have done most of the things natural, right? So if you're going to give me hate, I recommend that you go down to a cemetery, because you're probably going to, your directed hate is probably going to be better served over there, because these guys are mostly dead. So
Yeah.
I'm just sharing information for the benefit of everybody, anybody that wants to listen. And having said that, again, I'll repeat it. In my opinion, physical culture should be about your health first, and I don't agree with the use of steroids. I think that you're going to damage your body in the long run. It should be about your health, then get your strength levels up, because it's going to help you with everyday life. And finally, once you've got those two down, you should definitely then consider your physique. I think that in itself is a byproduct of a good lifestyle, of good physical culture, when done correctly. When you put health first, strength second, and your physique comes anyway. But if you neglect the first two, forget it. You can take all the drugs you want in the world, but without proper health and strength, you're not going to get anywhere. So.
100% agree. What does your shirt say?
Oh man, that's just
Danes.
And,
yeah.
If you want to lift.
That's what I'm talking about, dude.
Yeah, it's my favorite hoodie.
I like it.
Yeah.
Cool. So this was a badass interview, Carlos. We're all pumped to see what you bring on your channel next week. Last thing I want to say, I'm gonna put all of Carlos's link in the description. You can subscribe to his channel in the description. With that being said, subscribe for more videos like this. Give this video a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. I'm Old School Dan. I'm gone. Peace.